It is May 2012 in Lafayette, Louisiana, and investigators stare at hours of grainy crowdsourced security footage illuminated by the harsh glare of computer monitors. A local resident committed a recording from a private camera, capturing a fleeting, chilling sequence in the dead of night. First, the faint outline of a young woman riding a bicycle appears on the dark screen at exactly 1:48 in the morning. Moments later, a white four-door Chevrolet Z71 pickup truck enters the frame, its headlights cutting through the gloom as it creeps in the exact same direction down the narrow street. This barely visible reflection is not just a digital ghost. It acts as the crucial piece of evidence destined to unravel a predator who planned his quiet hunt with careful precision. A tight-knit community initiated a relentless digital search, and their collective vigilance has just exposed a monster hiding in plain sight. The physical geography of Lafayette, Louisiana, in the spring of 2012 presents a picture of idyllic southern charm mixed with vibrant academic life. The city spreads across flat, marshy plains, anchored by the sprawling campus of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette in its center. Giant live oak trees draped in Spanish moss line the avenues, casting long, heavy shadows under the orange glow of sodium streetlights. Narrow residential streets form a grid around the university, creating a tight-knit neighborhood where students and professors live side by side in wood-framed houses with peeling white paint and wide porches. The humid evening air carries the deafening hum of cicadas, a familiar backdrop to the quiet rhythm of local life. Crime feels distant here, remaining an abstract concept belonging to larger fractured cities far beyond the borders of Lafayette Parish. Residents leave their doors unlocked and walk home long after midnight without a second thought. Into this secure environment steps Michaela Shunick, known to everyone simply as Mickey. She is a 21-year-old senior majoring in anthropology, immersed in the local culture and beloved by a massive circle of friends. Mickey possesses a radiant energy that draws people toward her, characterized by a deep love for the outdoors and a strong loyalty to her younger siblings. She chooses not to own a car, relying on a vintage black Schwinn bicycle fitted with a gold-colored frame to navigate the 2-mile radius between her classes. Her job and her social life, the heavy metal chain of her bicycle lock clicking into place, is a sound her friends recognize in an instant, signaling her arrival at coffee shops and weekend gatherings. Her daily routine maps a small, predictable loop through the heart of the college town, passing local landmarks and familiar faces at every corner. She represents the best of her community, possessing a bright future and approaching her 22nd birthday with excitement and ambition. Friends describe her as a young woman who always notices the overlooked details in life, bringing a sense of purpose to everything she does. On the warm evening of May 18, 2012, Mickey joins a group of close friends to celebrate a birthday. The gathering takes place at a popular local venue located just across the train tracks from the main campus. This location sits less than 2 miles from her own front door. The hours pass with laughter and music, cementing a sense of absolute normalcy destined to shatter. As midnight comes and goes, the venue empties out, and the remaining guests begin to make their separate ways home. The distance between the venue and Mickey's house spans exactly 1.8 miles, a straight shot down St. Landry Street and across a well-lit residential intersection. At approximately 1:45 in the morning on May 19, Mickey hugs her friends goodbye and grips the handlebars of her black Schwinn. She pedals away from the bright lights of the venue, cutting a familiar path into the humid, enveloping darkness of the early morning. The route is one she has taken hundreds of times before, weaving through the quiet tree-lined corridors of the neighborhood. The heavy scent of magnolias hangs in the air, and the streets remain deserted, save for a few parked cars resting along the curbs. She rides with the confidence of a local resident who knows every crack in the pavement and every shadow cast by the oak trees. No one watching her ride away that night could know a predator patrols this exact grid of streets, searching for a solitary target. The irreversible shift from normalcy to panic begins just hours later. As the morning sun rises high over Lafayette on May 19, Mickey's family gathers at a local high school auditorium, taking their seats to watch her younger brother walk across the stage and receive his graduation diploma. A single empty folding chair sits among the family members, a glaring void that sends immediate alarm bells ringing in the mind of her mother. Mickey is known to be punctual and supportive of her family, making her absence at such a monumental event a glaring anomaly. Text messages go unanswered, and phone calls ring in a loop before dropping into an automated voicemail system. The family leaves the graduation ceremony early, driving straight to Mickey's residence, located near the university campus. They turn the heavy brass doorknob and step inside, finding the house silent and undisturbed. Her beloved black Schwinn bicycle is nowhere in sight, and her room looks exactly as she left it the previous afternoon. The realization hits the family like a physical blow, prompting them to dial the local police precinct and officially report a missing person. The response from the Lafayette community explodes with an unprecedented urgency that overwhelms local law enforcement. Within 24 hours, thousands of citizen volunteers transform an empty commercial storefront into a fully functioning command center. Friends print tens of thousands of flyers, taping the smiling face of the 21-year-old student to every utility pole, storefront window, and bulletin board in the parish. Search parties organize into strict grids, fanning out across the city streets the dense surrounding swamplands and the heavy brush lining the Vermilion River. Helicopters beat the thick, humid air overhead, while volunteers ride horseback through tall sugarcane fields searching for any trace of the black bicycle. Investigators map out the specific route Mikey took from the venue to her house, an area spanning less than 2 miles of paved road. They walk the concrete sidewalks shoulder to shoulder, scanning the grass for discarded belongings, tire tracks, or signs of a struggle. The complete absence of physical evidence frustrates the detectives at every turn. A healthy young woman and a large metal bicycle cannot simply evaporate into the night air without leaving a single trace behind. Faced with a geographical vacuum and a lack of traditional forensic clues on the ground, the investigative strategy makes a desperate pivot toward the digital realm. Detectives recognize the reality of modern investigations, understanding that the electronic eyes of a city never sleep. The Lafayette Police Department issues a massive public plea, asking every local business owner and private resident within a 5-mile radius of the university to check their surveillance systems. They demand any raw footage recorded between the hours of 1 in the morning and 3 in the morning on May 19. The citizens of Lafayette answer this call with overwhelming force, delivering hundreds of hours of unedited time-stamped video files on flash drives and compact discs. Detectives and civilian volunteers sit side by side in dark rooms, their eyes burning as they scrutinize the grainy black and white pixels frame by frame. They know the answer lies buried somewhere in the digital noise, hidden within the shadows of a passing car or the faint reflection of a street lamp. This massive collaboration between a desperate community and seasoned investigators sets the stage for a technological manhunt. The combined effort will soon uncover a seasoned predator lurking right outside their front doors. Inside the windowless conference rooms of the Lafayette Police Department, detectives and civilian volunteers sit shoulder to shoulder, scanning digital monitors for days on end. The spatial layout of the mapped grid spans less than 2 miles, capturing the quiet residential corridor along St. Landry Street. Investigators synchronize timestamps across dozens of disparate private camera systems to create a continuous virtual timeline of the early morning hours. The breakthrough arrives when a residential security system yields a faint, black and white recording captured at 19:48 in the morning. A solitary figure riding a bicycle rolls across the top right corner of the screen, heading west toward the university boundaries. Seconds later, the heavy mechanical frame of a white newer model four-door Chevrolet Z71 pickup truck enters the frame. The driver does not speed past the bicyclist, but instead matches her slow pace, creeping along the empty pavement with chilling intent. Investigators isolate the pixels, noting specific aftermarket modifications on the vehicle, including distinctive window visors and a heavy bed cover. This single piece of crowdsourced evidence shifts the entire trajectory of the search from a rescue mission to a targeted vehicle manhunt. Detectives isolate still frames of the white truck and distribute the images across local television stations and roadside billboards. The community stares at this mechanical ghost, realizing a calculated predator stalked their neighborhood streets while they slept. The public broadcast of the suspect vehicle generates a massive influx of telephone calls to the police dispatch center. Investigators sift through countless false leads and mistaken identities, verifying the registration of every white Chevrolet truck in Lafayette Parish. On June 14, 2012, a specific tip cuts through the noise and directs detectives toward a resident of the neighboring Acadia Parish. The caller identifies the owner of a matching white truck as Brandon Scott Lavargan, a man projecting the facade of an ordinary offshore oil worker. Detectives pull his criminal file, and the sheer volume of his past offenses sends a shockwave through the precinct. Lavargan operates as a registered sex offender, carrying a dark history of violent behavior that dates back over a decade. A deep dive into his background reveals a staggering sequence of systemic legal failures and bureaucratic loopholes that allowed him to walk free. In previous years, plea bargains and jurisdictional miscommunications reduced his mandatory prison sentences. The justice system categorized him as a moderate risk, prioritizing prison overcrowding protocols over community safety and granting him early release. He returned to society and blended into the rural landscape, utilizing his lucrative oil field income to construct a mask of absolute normalcy. Now, armed with his name and his terrifying pedigree, task force members prepare to examine his vehicle for microscopic traces of the missing student. The immediate tactical priority centers on securing Lavargan's white Chevrolet Z71 pickup truck to conduct a rigorous forensic sweep. Detectives arrive at his residence located in the town of Swords, preparing to execute a search warrant on the property. They scan the long gravel driveway and the adjacent carport, finding the primary piece of evidence missing from the premises. Lavargan informs the officers that an unknown thief stole his truck several days after the disappearance, presenting a filed police report to support his claim. The investigation hits a massive geographical and forensic dead end when authorities track the vehicle identification number across state lines. 300 miles away, law enforcement officers locate the stolen truck sitting in a desolate, wooded area of San Jacinto County, Texas. The vehicle rests as a burned-out husk, consumed by an intense fire that melted the interior plastics and scorched the metal frame down to the axles. This calculated act of arson destroys any possibility of recovering hair fibers, fingerprints, or cellular material from the cab. Lavargan relies on this destruction, believing the fire severed his physical connection to the crime scene. The loss of the primary physical evidence forces the investigative team to abandon traditional collection methods and pivot to digital tracking. The complete incineration of the original vehicle does not deter the detectives, who instead focus on the suspect's movements in the days following the arson. Financial subpoenas reveal that Lavargan used his oil field wages to purchase a nearly identical white Chevrolet pickup truck days after reporting the theft. He returned to his local dealership and selected a model matching the exact year and trim package of his destroyed vehicle. Investigators monitor his subsequent actions, documenting a deliberate and suspicious sequence of automotive modifications. Lavargue transports the newly purchased truck to a remote tire shop, paying in cash to swap the factory tires with a completely different tread pattern. He requests the mechanic dispose of the old tires, a tactical move designed to blind any forensic matching to tire tracks left near the bicycle route. Detectives track down the mechanic, secure the receipts, and recover the discarded tires from the scrap pile before the sanitation trucks arrive. This blatant attempt to camouflage a replacement vehicle speaks volumes about his psychological state and his desperate need for control. Lavargue operates under the delusion that he outstarted the combined forces of the local police and the federal agents. He continues to walk through his daily life, driving his new white truck down the exact same roads, unaware that detectives watch his every move. To dismantle his carefully constructed alibi, cybercrime analysts begin a slow, methodical reconstruction of his digital footprint. They issue emergency preservation orders to cellular service providers, demanding the complete call logs and location data for his mobile device. The geographic span of the cellular towers covers the dense grid of Lafayette Parish and extends into the rural highways leading toward the Atchafalaya Basin. Technicians plot the longitude and latitude coordinates onto a digital map, creating a breadcrumb trail of electronic pings. The data places his mobile device on St. Landry Street between 1 in the morning and 2 in the morning on May 19. His phone travels at the exact same speed and in the exact same direction as the white truck captured on the residential security cameras. Detectives layer this cellular data against electronic toll bridge records collected from the nearby Interstate 10 corridor. The toll booth cameras capture the license plate of his original truck, crossing the parish line mere hours after the bicycle vanished from the security feeds. These unalterable digital records trap him in a web of his own movements, proving he lied to investigators about his location that night. The electronic evidence provides the irrefutable foundation needed to transition the case from a missing person inquiry into a formal apprehension strategy. While the digital team locks down his geographic location, a secondary unit uncovers a chilling medical record that exposes the violent reality of the encounter. Detectives canvass local healthcare facilities, searching for any unusual admissions during the early morning hours of May 19. They discover that Lavargue drove himself to a regional hospital emergency room just as the sun began to rise over Lafayette. Medical staff treated him for severe deep lacerations across his hands, his chest, and his neck. Lavargue provided the attending physicians with a fabricated narrative, claiming a transient man attacked him with a knife at a rural gas station. Police pull the dispatch logs for that specific gas station and confirm no such altercation ever took place. Investigators consult with forensic medical examiners who review the hospital photographs of the defensive wounds. The angle and depth of the lacerations indicate a chaotic close quarters struggle inside the tight confines of a vehicle cabin. This medical evidence paints a harrowing picture of a young woman who refused to surrender without fighting against her captor. She inflicted significant physical damage on the predator, marking his body with the permanent scars of her absolute defiance. Every lie he told the hospital staff and the police only tightens the legal noose around his neck, preparing the ground for the final confrontation. The calendar turns to July 5, 2012. The geographical net closes around the suspect. Investigators track Brandon Scott Lavargue to a location a great distance from the quiet streets of the university campus. Federal agents and local detectives form an impenetrable perimeter. They wear heavy tactical gear. The summer heat radiates from the pavement. The task force executes a high-stakes arrest warrant. The heavy metallic click of steel handcuffs echoes through the humid air. The arrest neutralizes his physical mobility. The deceptive facade of an ordinary oil field worker shatters in an instant. Officers place him in the back of a police cruiser. The vehicle transports him back to the Lafayette Police Precinct. The journey traverses the same asphalt highways he used to orchestrate his deception. The task force prepares for the final confrontation. The physical environment of the interrogation room strips away all comfort. The space measures 10 feet by 10 feet. 4 solid cinder block walls enclose a single metal table. A harsh fluorescent light hums overhead. Detectives place the suspect in a hard plastic chair. They sit across from him. The officers do not ask questions. They present unalterable facts. They lay thick manila folders on the metal surface. The documents contain an overwhelming digital footprint. Photographs show the burned husk of his original white Chevrolet pickup truck in San Jacinto County. Spreadsheets map the electronic pings of his mobile device, matching the exact bicycle route. Toll booth camera stills display his license plate crossing parish lines. Hospital records document the severe defensive lacerations across his neck and hands. The sheer volume of crowdsourced evidence traps him in a corner. He stares at the undeniable proof of his own actions. The shadow of the death penalty looms heavy in the small room. The laws of Louisiana mandate lethal injection for such severe crimes. This stark legal reality breaks his silence. Lavargue initiates a formal confession. He details the final chronological moments of May 19. He describes prowling the dark residential avenues in his white truck. He identified the solitary bicyclist. He stalked her down St. Landry Street. He matched her pace. He calculated his strike. He pressed the accelerator. The heavy steel bumper of his vehicle struck the rear tire of the vintage black Schwinn. The impact launched the young woman onto the harsh concrete. The crash severed the quiet peace of the neighborhood. He exited his vehicle. He confronted the injured student. He anticipated an easy target. He found a fierce warrior. The young anthropology student refused to become a silent victim. She fought back with absolute ferocity. She produced a defensive tool. She slashed at her attacker. She inflicted deep gashes across his skin. She fought for her future. She fought for her family. Her resistance caused the very wounds he tried to explain away at the hospital. Her defiance marked him for the rest of his natural life. He overpowered her through sheer physical weight. He forced her into the cab of the truck. He drove away from the city limits. He ended her life in the rural darkness. He stole her future. He concealed her body to protect his own freedom. The horrifying timeline reaches its definitive conclusion. The confession provides the mechanism for justice, but the family still requires physical closure. On August 7, 2012, an anonymous tip directs investigators away from Lafayette Parish. The search shifts 35 miles north to Evangeline Parish. Detectives drive up Interstate 49 and turn onto the rural stretch of Louisiana Highway 10. The coordinates lead them to a desolate, overgrown cemetery hidden from the main road. Tangled vines and thick briars choke the ancient headstones. Towering pine trees block the sunlight, casting deep shadows over the damp soil. The oppressive humidity hangs over the isolated graveyard. The physical geography of the site offers perfect concealment for a predator attempting to bury his crimes. The forensic recovery team arrives with heavy excavation equipment. They cordon off a specific patch of disturbed earth. The technicians work in complete silence. They sift through the dense clay and roots. They uncover a grim discovery buried beneath the surface. The site yields the physical remains of the missing student. Dental records and forensic analysis provide absolute confirmation 2 days later, on August 9, 2012. The recovery brings a heartbreaking finality to the exhaustive community search. The young woman who rode her bicycle through the warm spring night will never return home. The discovery ends the agonizing uncertainty for her parents and siblings. It prevents the defense team from claiming a lack of physical evidence during any future legal proceedings. The system secures the final piece of the puzzle needed to lock the predator away. The focus shifts to the judicial process. The legal conclusion arrives with unprecedented speed on August 17, 2012. The interior of the Lafayette Parish Courthouse feels sterile and cold. Heavy wooden benches fill the gallery. The suspect stands before the judge in a standard-issue prison uniform. He accepts a complex plea agreement designed to spare his own life from a lethal injection gurney. He speaks into a microphone. He enters a formal guilty plea for the first-degree fatal abduction of Mickey Shunick. The proceedings take a shocking turn. He issues a second guilty plea. He admits to the fatal abduction of 35-year-old Lisa Pate. This admission resolves a cold case from the year 1999. During that era, a complete lack of centralized digital databases prevented neighboring police departments from sharing crucial suspect profiles. A rigid bureaucracy and a catastrophic paperwork error regarding his parole status allowed him to evade justice for the first crime. The state ignored glaring red flags to clear prison beds. The crowdsourced vesulence of a new generation forced him to answer for both crimes. The judge accepts the guilty pleas and delivers the final verdict. The court sentences Brandon Scott Lavargan to 2 consecutive life terms in the Louisiana State Penitentiary at Angolda. The mandate strips away any possibility of parole, probation, or early release. The heavy wooden gavel strikes the sounding block. The loud crack signals the absolute end of his freedom. The metal doors of the maximum security facility close behind him for the remainder of his life. The Lafayette community absorbs the immense grief of losing a bright, energetic student. Her absence leaves a permanent void in the lives of her friends and family. Yet, the tragedy also highlights a profound triumph of collective action. Thousands of ordinary citizens refuse to accept the disappearance of one of their own. They leverage digital technology and relentless determination to track a phantom reflection on a grainy video screen. Their combined efforts unmasked a monster, dismantled his alibis, and ensured he would never hunt on their streets again.